Hello students, good morning, welcome you all. So children, in the previous class we discussed about the plasmolysis and the significance of the plasmolysis. So students, we shall start in today's class about the imbibition. Imbibition. So what is imbibition? So imbibition, it is a special type of diffusion. So in which the hydrophilic colloidal substances absorbs the water, and that will result in swelling in the volume. So the substances which absorbs the water, they are called as imbibants, and the liquid that is absorbed is called as imbibate. So imbibants, imbibate, and the process is known as imbibition. Understand? Imbibition is a process in which the water is absorbed by hydrophilic colloidal substances. Hydrophilic means what? Water loving substances. Hydrophobic is opposite to hydrophilic. Hydrophobia, phobic, water hating, water repelling. So they will not absorb the water, hydrophobic. But here I am saying hydrophilic substances that will absorb the water. And what happens after absorbing? That will result in swelling, increasing in the volume. So that is the imbibition. See, example, in the rainy season, our doors and windows of our houses, that is, they swell up and it feels tight to open or close. Why it becomes tight? During only that particular season, that is not in the summer. In summer, opening and closing of the windows and doors will be easy, so there will be no any tightness. That is, the moisture that is present in the atmosphere during the monsoon season, that is in the rainy season, the moisture get absorbed by the wooden doors and windows. Understand? So that results in swelling. What is there in the doors and windows? They are nothing but in the doors and windows, the cells are dead, but the cell walls are present. No, in the cell wall, the cellulose, the starch, or the pectin, but not lignin. Understand? Lignin is a hydrophobic substance, and the cellulose, the pectin, the starch, all these substances that are present in the wooden doors, no, that is in the cell wall, they absorb, and these substances are called as what? Imbibants. So any substance that absorbs the water, they are called as imbibants, and the water that is absorbed is called as imbibate. Got it? So, and the process that results in swelling is known as imbibition. What happens actually during the imbibition? So these substances, they absorb the water molecules, and these water molecules get added or get attached to the solid particles or hydrophilic colloidal particles, and that results in releasing of the heat energy. Water potential decreases, the water potential of the water decreases, and that results in heat energy. So heat is produced during imbibition. That is very important. During imbibition, the heat is produced. Why? Because due to loss of water potential, due to losing of the water potential, the kinetic energy of the water potential decreases, and that energy will be in the form of the heat energy. So that happens in imbibition. Okay. So imbibition, it is a special type of diffusion. Imbibition is a special type of, it is also a diffusion, no? So what is diffusion? We have already discussed. So movement of the solid, gases, or the liquid molecules from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. But here the movement occurs, but gradient should be there. For imbibition to occur, for this diffusion to occur, gradient should be there. So from higher water potential to lower water potential, the water molecules will move. That results in swelling of the particles. So that is special type of diffusion in which water is absorbed, in which water is absorbed, so by solid colloidal substances or solid colloids, causing them to increase in volume, So the substances that absorbs the water are called as imbibants. What do you mean by imbibants? Now this is the definition of imbibation. So it is a special type of diffusion in which water is absorbed by solid colloids or solid colloidal substances, or we can call it as hydrophilic substances. Hydrophilic means what? Water loving. So water attracting, water loving substances increase in volume. What are imbibants? Imbibants, the substances that imbibes the water, they are called as imbibants. What are imbibants? For example, cellulose, pectin. Pectin is a component of cell wall. Cellulose is a component of the cell wall. So the gums, starch, etc. all these are present in the cell wall, in the seeds, in the fruit wall, in the root hairs, in the dead piece of wood. So in doors, windows, the cells are dead, but the cell wall and these substances are present in the wood, isn't it? So that's why when these solid particles are there, these are colloids, and water molecules, things that I will enlarge it, and these are the imbibants, that is solid colloid substances. The water molecules get adhered to these substances. When the water, what are these? These are water molecules. When the water molecules get adhered to these substances, what happens? The water potential decreases, right? See, when you add a pinch of sugar or a salt into the pure water, what happens? The water potential, already we have discussed in water potential, that water potential decreases. So due to this hydrophilic colloidal substances, the kinetic energy of water molecule will be decreased, that results in heat energy. Understand? So these are, except lignin. Lignin is hydrophobic. All these are substances what? They are hydrophilic substances, but not lignin. Lignin is also present in the walls, cell wall, but lignin is, you should remember this point, lignin is hydrophobic, except lignin. So lignin is hydrophobic substance. Got it? So dear children, see this, the imbibants, the substances which imbibes the water, and these substances are hydrophilic substances Examples are these: cellulose, pectin, gum, starch, except lignin. Lignin is hydrophobic substance. Then what is imbibitate? Imbibitate. So the liquid water, isn't it? Water is absorbed during imbibition that results in swelling. That liquid water is called as imbibitate. The liquid water is called imbibitate. Understand? Now let us discuss about some examples. Absorption of water by seeds. Absorption of water by woods, wood piece. Example: absorption by seeds, woods. We can give example, isn't it? See what happens during germination of the seed. Simply, if you put the seed into the dry soil, does the seed germinates? It requires moisture, it requires water. See, in our houses, we germinate the seeds and we make some curries using that germinated seeds. They are enriched with the nutrients, That's why we put the seeds, dry seeds, into water, and if we keep it over a night, in the morning the seeds will germinate. And you observe that the seed coat in that seed will be ruptured. So the seed coats, breakage of the seed coats occurs. Why that breakage occurs? So why that embryo, how that embryo comes out? That is due to the pressure that is built up inside. It increases its volume, So that is the kernel that is present, the seed cotyledons that is present. Inside the cotyledon or inside the kernel, what is present? These substances, starch, understand, etc. Food materials are present, even the proteins are present. They will also absorb the water, and it increases in volume. That results in swelling. Due to that pressure, the seed coats break up and the embryo comes out, isn't it? So that is germination. During germination, water is absorbed by the seeds. So in the seeds, the water potential is very less and the seed has a less amount of water, and inside the seed there is more solutes are present. So when the seeds come in contact with water, the water rushes into the seeds. So water is absorbed by the seeds. So higher water potential to lower water potential, the water molecules will move. That is by simple diffusion, and that results in swelling. Due to swelling of the cotyledons, what happens? The rupture of the seed coat occurs. So during imbibition, a pressure is created. That pressure that is created during imbibition or during absorption of water is known as imbibitional pressure. Understand? Woods, when you put a piece of wood into the water, what happens? It swells. That's why the doors and windows in the monsoon season, they swell up, because they absorb the moisture content in the atmosphere and result in swelling. So absorption of wood had been used, since this process has been used by the prehistoric mans to break the rock. See this technique has been used by the prehistoric men. So prehistoric man used this technique for what? For breaking rocks. So big rocks were there. So by then there were no instrument to break, there were no machines to break. What they used to make? They used to take a wooden piece and they used to keep in the hole made by the human beings, that is this hole, or in between the rocks the wooden piece is kept. See, this wooden piece is kept in between, or this wood piece is kept in this depression of the rock, and they used to pour the water continuously for about 1 day, 2 day, 3 days. What happens? So a pressure is created here. Due to this pressure, a break occurs in the rock. So the rocks are split into pieces by imbibational pressure. That much of high pressure is created by imbibation. Understand? So the maximum pressure, that is absorption, is done by agar-agar, Gracilaria and Gelidium. These are the species algae you might have been studied, isn't it? In algae, agar-agar. Extraction of this agar-agar. Agar-agar is a medium that is used in the laboratory techniques, and that absorbs 99% of water of its own weight of water is absorbed. More than 99% of water is absorbed. Understand? See, these seeds are there, no pea seeds, etc. They develop during the pressure. They are 1000 bars, up to the 1000 bars. They are osmotically very negative, and these seeds. So that's why the prehistoric men, they used this technique of imbibition to break the rocks. So by putting a piece of wood into the depression of the rocks, and they used to pour the water. When they used to pour the water, the wood used to swell. When the wood used to swell, that is swell, the rock used to split. So this technique is used by the prehistoric men for breaking the rocks. Imbibition is also known as a simple diffusion. It requires the concentration gradient. Understand? It is a special type of diffusion. Imbibition requires concentration gradient of water molecules. So the water will move from higher water potential to lower water potential, from higher osmotic concentration to the lower osmotic concentration. So the liquids that imbibes, that will flow from higher potential to lower potential. And during this flow, during this swelling, what happens? During imbibition, a lot of heat energy is produced. You might have been felt. So simply you put some dry seeds into the bowl of water and see in the morning that water becomes a little bit of warmer. So why the water will be warmed? That is due to the heat that is released by germinating seeds. Understand? So when the water potential decreases, that will be result in the form of the heat energy, and that heat energy is released during imbibition, that we can feel it. When you touch the water in the bowl, little bit the water will be in warm condition. So heat is released during this heat energy. That heat energy is called as what? Heat of wetting. It is also known as heat of wetting. Due to wetting, the heat is released. So the pressure that is developed during imbibition is called as what? Imbibitional pressure. See, there are different types of pressure. You should remember that. Imbibitional pressure. So the pressure that is released during imbibition, see, that is up to, I said, 1000 bars of pressure is released. so that pressure in germination, why the germinating seeds comes out by breaking the soil, by loosening the soil. Even if the soil becomes very hard, it can lift the soil particles and comes up, isn't it? See the seeds, they are broken down, the seed coats are broken down, that is due to this pressure created by imbibition. So that much of pressure is released or created during imbibition. So maximum imbibition capacity is in agar. The agar is extracted from the algae species Gracilaria and Gelidium. So agar, and this agar absorbs nearly 99% of water of its weight. Okay, so all these are some of the important points of imbibition, children. So very important. Next, what is the significance of imbibition or importance of imbibition? Many factors affect the imbibition like temperature, pH, etc. See, in the young cell, that is when in the young cell the vacuoles are absent, and when the cells get matured, the vacuoles are formed. Then that cell osmotic potential will be very much negative in that vacuolated cell. So water will move, but in young cells the water is absorbed by imbibition process. Understand? So osmosis is also there, diffusion is also there, occurs, but this imbibition won't occur in matured cells, but in young cell the imbibition occurs. That's why root hairs absorbs the water from the soil, because the root hairs consists of the cell wall, the cell wall has these cellulose, understand, pectin, etc. These substances, they will absorb the water. First, the water get absorbed into the root hairs by imbibitional process, that is into the cell wall. Next, from the cell wall, it is taken up by the cell through the plasma membrane by diffusion, etc. Okay, so it is also a simple diffusion. So significance, number one, germination. For germination of seeds, the water is required. So the water is absorbed by the dry seeds, by germinating seeds, by imbibition only. First, the seed coats, from the seed coats into the kernels, and the swelling of the kernels occurs, that results in breakage of the seed coats, and the embryo start dividing. When the water is available, when the embryo start dividing, that embryo through the breakage, pressure created by imbibition, it makes a way to come out of the seed. The embryo start dividing and the germination occurs. So for germination of seed, imbibition is useful, it is helpful. And during soil water absorption, soil water is absorbed by what? By root hairs. So root hairs consists of what? Root hairs consists of cell wall only, and that cell wall first absorbs the water from the soil. Maximum water is absorbed not by any part of the root. Where the root hair region is present, there only the maximum water absorption occurs, that we have discussed in morphology. So that cell walls. First the water get absorbed by the cell walls, later on into the cell, from that cell into the next cell by this diffusion, osmosis, etc. Okay. So, this is what about the imbibition children. Yes. Now, we shall move on to the next topic, that is the long distance transport of water. Long distance transport of water. So, how do the water is transported to a long distances in the plant body? Alone the diffusion cannot supply the water to long distances. So, there are plants which are about 300, 400 feet in its height. The diffusion alone cannot supply, because diffusion is a slow process. For the transportation of water, diffusion alone or active transport alone cannot supply the water. It is not sufficient to supply the water, because by then through the diffusion, when water has to be transported to the tip, from the root to the tip, means in higher plants, the plants which are very tall, there the tip will be, that is, dried up. So, upper part will become dry, will be indeficient of water, and they start drying and wilting. So, the diffusion is a slow process. Within the cell, say the cell is about for about 50 micrometers in its diameter, means the diffusion will take 2.5 seconds. Think that for 1 meter of transportation of water through diffusion, how much time it would require. And the water has to be transported from root to the tip in 300 to 400 feet height of plant, means how many years it would take. So, the plant cannot survive, the plant cannot depend on diffusion. How the movement occurs, water movement or the food movement occurs within the plant body, that we are going to discuss in this topic. So, long distance transport of water. One example I can give here. You might have been heard some balsam plant, understand, and there are some plants which with white flower with very slender, that is twigs, stems are there, which are semi-transparent or which are with transparent stems are available. By taking that twig, a twig of plants with white flowers, a twig of plant with white flowers. If the twigs of the plant with white flowers are taken, and this twig, the cut end of the twig is immersed in the colored water in a beaker. So, the colored water that is taken in the beaker, keep it for few hours and observe it. You can observe the path of the movement of this colored water in the twig. And if you leave for some more hours, means the white flower is going to turn into pink. If you take the pink colored water, means the white colored flower will turn into pink. And when you examine by taking a cross section of this twig, means you can find out the path of the movement of water in the plant body. What is that path? From where these water molecules moves, or the nutrients moves within the plant body, that is through vascular bundle, that is particularly especially by the xylem. So, the path is through the xylem, that is vascular bundles, we say, no, vascular bundles. You heard about the vascular bundles. So, these are the bundles, that is they get the xylem and phloem get surrounded by the bundle sheath cells. So they are present together in one bundle. So that's why they are called as vascular bundle. Vascular, why we call it as vascular? The xylem and phloem are called as the vascular tissues. And in higher plants, these vascular tissues are present, not in lower plants. Higher plant means from pteridophytes, you can observe the vascular tissues. So all the plants which possess this xylem and phloem, they are called as vascular plants. And these tissues, vasculature for the movement of water and the food materials. There is a path. So that path can be observed when you take a cross section, and the vascular bundles become pink. Not all the cells of the vascular bundle, particularly the xylem walls, observe the stain that is pink color and they appear pink in color. You can confirm that the water is moved through the xylem. That is in the vascular bundle, that too specially through the xylem, there is a path of movement of water and minerals. So like that we can trace out the phloem and the xylem by taking a twig and examining. We can move the path of water that is moved within the plant body, that is through the xylem. So what is this path? The path means what? The way. So the path of movement that is in vascular bundle, that too particularly in vascular bundles, specifically by xylem. So the water moves through that is why the xylem is called as water conducting tissue. Water conducting means movement of water, mineral salts, hormones and etc. occurs through the xylem only. The movement of food, organic and inorganic solutes occurs through phloem. So from the root to the tip of the plant body, the water is moved through the xylem. That path we can trace out by taking a transverse section or a cross section of this twig. Okay. So the path will be the vascular bundle. So long distance of water is there, no? Long distance of transport. Long distance transport of substances cannot occur by diffusion alone. Diffusion contributes for a short distance. That's why during discussion of the diffusion I said diffusion is a slow process, and through diffusion the movement of water occurs or substances occurs for a short distance, not for a long distance. So for a short distance this occurs. So then movement of molecules across a typical plant cell. See, I will say one example. In a typical plant cell, say about what is the size of this plant cell? 50 micrometers. So for the movement of molecules across a plant cell by diffusion only, it takes how much time? It takes 2.5 seconds. So micro means it is very smaller. So in micrometer, 50 micrometer cell, for crossing that cell by diffusion alone, it takes 2.5 seconds. In the textbook one question is a one. Then how much time is required by diffusion to cross or for the movement of water molecules up to 1 meter? Then for the movement for 1 meter, how much time is required? If you calculate, it will take 32 hours. to cross that 1 meter. 1 meter means usually that is 3 fourth, that is 3 meters and 1/4, 3.23 feet, I think. 1 meter is equal to 3.23 feet. And there are plants, say about 300 feet. If 32 hours takes to cross nearly 3.23 feet, then for reaching 300 feet by alone this diffusion, how much time it would take? So it takes several months, even up to years. So the diffusion cannot supply the water to a long distance from roots to the tip. Then how this water moves? So in large plants are there, no? In large plants or organisms, so the substances has to be moved for a long distance, has to be moved for a long distance. That is from where to where? From storage from synthesis or from site of production to storage, or from site of absorption to the tip of plant body. Site of absorption means from root to the tip. From production means leaves produce the food, to storage organs. The food molecules or the water molecules or the minerals have to be transported for a long distance. So by diffusion this will not happen. It is impossible to move the molecules through diffusion. So diffusion and active transport is there, no? Active transport against the concentration gradient, the molecules will move. So through diffusion and active transport it cannot be met. The transportation of the substances to a long distance from root to the tip or from leaf to the storage organ, these molecules cannot be supplied. So how these molecules will move? Then water and minerals and also food, they generally move by mass. By mass means what? By bulk. So the water, minerals and food moves in mass, that is in bulk movement. Bulk movement means what? En masse. En masse means what? In large amount, in bulk flow system, that is bulk flow system. That is bulk flow system means what? En masse. So en masse from one point to the another point. It is only due to the pressure differences that occurs in between these 2 points. So en masse bulk flow system, that is en masse by due to pressure gradient. So what is this pressure gradient? In between these two there is a pressure gradient is developed. From higher pressure to lower pressure the molecules will move. Understand? And hydrostatic pressure, the positive hydrostatic pressure in garden hose and the negative hydrostatic pressure, that is the suction pressure. The water is, sometimes the water is, that is pushed. So water is pushed or pulled. During daytime the water is pulled, during night time the hydrostatic pressure is developed. The roots simply start absorbing water, a pressure is built up and the water comes out through the leaves. So that is the positive hydrostatic pressure that is developed in the garden hose, and due to the suction pressure during daytime a suction force is created in the leaves, that is during transpiration a pull is created, that is the negative hydrostatic pressure. So a pressure gradient that occurs, higher pressure, lower pressure. So there should be a difference, higher pressure and lower pressure, and this difference makes the bulk movement of the food molecules or the water molecules or the minerals, etc. So that is en masse. En masse means the movement of molecules or the substances occurs in bulk. That is the bulk system transport. So en masse from one point to another. So from one point to another due to pressure gradient. So due to pressure gradient between 2 points. So between 2 points means what? See, I will say here the leaf start manufacturing the food. So when the food start loading into the veins, into the that is leaf, the leaf consists of the chlorophyll molecules, and the chloroplast synthesize the food, and that food is loaded into the veins. Leaf consists of veins and veinlets, that is called as vein loading, and here the pressure is created. That pressure, and the pressure will be more here and the pressure will be less here. So due to this pressure gradient here, higher pressure to lower pressure, the food molecules will flow through the phloem, that we will discuss I think in phloem, that is in this transport. We will discuss about the phloem flow, pressure flow hypothesis. One hypothesis there you will come to know about this, from higher pressure to lower pressure, and from the roots to the tip. So there is higher pressure here, lower pressure here. So this pressure between these 2 points makes the movement of water or food in bulk transport. So that pressure gradient is there, no? Bulk flow is achieved by positive hydrostatic pressure or the negative hydrostatic pressure. So what is this positive hydrostatic pressure? So it is a pressure that is created in the garden hose. The negative hydrostatic pressure, example, the suction pressure. It is the suction pressure. Later on you will come to know what is suction pressure. Hydrostatic pressure, positive hydrostatic pressure, that will also you will come to know in garden hose. So that you will come to know. Then the bulk movement of substances, the bulk movement of substances through the conducting, the bulk movement of substances through the conducting vascular tissues, conducting of vascular tissues. So the bulk movement of substances through the conducting of vascular tissues of plants is called what? Translocation. Translocate. into some other place, from one place to another place, from one point to another point. The bulk movement of these substances occurs through the vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem. That what we call it as the translocation. So in higher plants, in higher plants there are vascular bundles, VBs. VBs means what? Vascular bundles. What this vascular bundle consists of? VTs. VTs means what? Vascular tissues. What these vascular tissues? The xylem and phloem. See, the xylem and phloem. In higher plants there are vascular bundles. Within the vascular bundles, the vascular tissues are present. What are these vascular tissues? The xylem and the phloem. So bryophytes, algae, blue-green algae, they don't have these vascular tissues. Only in higher plants we come across these vascular tissues. What this xylem is meant for? The xylem is meant for the transportation of water, minerals. So water, minerals, organic nitrogen and hormones, etc. are transported by xylem. Water, minerals, organic nitrogen substances and also some hormones are transported by xylem. And phloem is a complex tissue. Xylem is also a complex tissue made up of 4 different types of cells. Some of them are dead, some of them are living. Okay, in xylem, how many living, how many dead? Various thickenings are present in the xylem. So the xylem parenchyma and the vessels, the trachea we call it as, understand, and the xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. Among these 4, xylem parenchyma is only the living tissue. And in phloem, 3 are living, 1 is dead. Sieve tubes, companion cell, phloem parenchyma, phloem fibers. All the 3 are living except the phloem fiber is dead. So the xylem and phloem are the complex tissues. Through phloem, the organic substances and inorganic substances flow from upper region to the storage, and from storage to different parts of the plant body. And through xylem, the water and minerals move in upward direction from root to the tip of the plant body. So these vascular tissues are responsible for the bulk movement of the substances or water or minerals or food molecules within the plant body. That what we call it as en masse or bulk transport system. There are pathways for the movement of the water within the plant body that we shall discuss in the coming class. Very important pathways are present: apoplast pathway and the symplast pathway. Okay children, thank you.